That seems to me that might be
Halder taking the cut through. Here we go. He's going to close in on Silva. He took the cut through on the corkscrew last time too. Is he going to do that again here?
Let's see, he's awful close to Silva. Silva goes a little bit deep. He is going to cut right through, comes in front of him, but he's a little bit out of sorts. Car manages to get itself back together, and Nico Silva tries to cut back on him, gives him another little hello, sneaks inside, down into turn 10, and makes a pass. I can't remember the last time I saw a pass into that turn.
It's going to take a brave move for the four chicanes here. No side-by-side yet from Sanchez. Trangarade will have to hold on through a tight section. White flag coming to checkered flag now. Sanchez needs a big corner exit here. Hard through the corner towards the final chicane. A slide for Trangarade. He hits the turtles. Sanchez with the pull. Side by side, they all slide. Trangarade wins it. My goodness, what happened?
Is that going to be enough to counteract anything? That's a battle for the lead as well. Frisha trying around the outside now. He's going to try to hold it out, but again, Paulie Partonen able to hold it out. Oh my goodness.
And in the back, you can just see that is Juan Costa looking out of place, trying to get on the inside of Jukka Talonen as they come around side by side and just shoved out to the grass. Thomas Simon has struck. He struck again, the second time in two corners. On the inside, going around the Lesbo 1 into Lesbo 2. Jukka Talonen and Thomas Simon going at it. As we jump back to the car number 66 in 9th position, that is going to be Steve Gray, looking to make the move on Alexander Wilfred on the outside, making it nice and tidy. Hold on to your hats, come on. Don't do it now, gentlemen. It's still a bit too early. Oh, on the inside, still holding. So he's hugging the inside curve as much as he can. Steve Dwyer on the last corner of the last lap makes a move and overtakes to take 8th position.
I think he has as well, but here comes the move for Philip Hammer. It's going to be down to the inside, going through the first corner, done and dusted. Lucetta tries to fight him back a little bit, but it's a little bit too late. But no, Lucetta's going to have the inside coming up the rise to Druids.
And in through Druids goes the slides. Philip Hammer's not able to make it effective on the outside, but on the inside.
Andy T has become the Bobby Fischer of the Lotus 79 series. He arrives mysteriously and at his own whims, wipes the floor with his competition, and then leaves just as unexpectedly. His attendance in the first round was already a bad sign for anyone who hoped to fight for the championship. But with T being last season's victor here at Road Atlanta as well, I'm sure there's groans in the paddock. Can anyone step up to face off against the Brit, or will they be spared of his presence and can fight amongst one another for the win? We'll find out soon as we get ready to watch round 2 of the Lotus 79 Sunday Grand Prix Series, and you'll see it all live here on the Global SimRacing Channel. Hi, I'm Joe Peak, and with me in the booth is DJ Clark. Behind the scenes is our director, Zach Johnson, and he's using cameras provided by Dougie Beard. Road Atlanta, despite its short length, seems well suited to a variety of cars. Let's head to our track guide to see why. Welcome to Road Atlanta, the scene of incredible sports car racing for decades and the home to the Petit Le Mans. This is a track that has proven itself to be worthy of attention on a world stage. With it being situated only an hour northeast of Atlanta, Georgia, the circuit is in a prime location. But despite its flagship race, in contrast to the real Le Mans, the full course is a measly 2.5 miles long. The club layouts also clock in at just under 2 miles. Packed within this small lap length is a series of technical and challenging corners, some of which can be race-ending even when small mistakes are made. Turn 1 is a fast sweeper which compresses the car into the track, but the high speeds mean that when you go off, you typically go off in a big way. Turn 3 is notorious for its curved entry into a blind apex. Too far inside and you face a cut course penalty. Too far outside and you're likely to spin out. Then there's the unassuming turn 5. The wide curving lures you into getting greedy, but the close walls on either side gobble up cars and spit them out as a crumpled heap. With all the tricky fast turns, that's not to say that there aren't passing opportunities. The main one comes at the chicane at the bottom of the backstretch. The huge downhill drop into the turn makes outbraking yourself quite easy though, so be careful. The whole thing wraps up with the frightening final corner. With nothing but a giant wall right to the outside as cars fly through at high speed, it's not often that wrecks are small. Boasting a wide swath of series over its history, everything from NASCAR to Indy Lights and of course IMSA, the main use of the track is SCCA events and driving schools. No wonder this place is popular both in real life and here on the iRacing service. Fans will no doubt get to enjoy many more years of action at this incredible track. Well, this should be a fun one, DJ, especially with these old school cars and a track that kind of has an old school flavor itself.
Yeah, it really does, Joe. And specifically here at Road Atlanta, there's not a lot of overtaking opportunities. Really, your best shot of getting anything done is going to be going down into the chicanes of turns 10A and 10B. From there on out, it's a lot of follow the leader. Tricky zones to watch out for, even in these high downforce cars, going over turns 2 and 3, even going down through the S's and the always infamous turn 5. Very, very tricky. And in these Lotuses with the ground effects, you're going to want to try to keep your speed up as much as possible, and that turn 5 is really going to be a big display of bravery.
Absolutely. Now, we have one round done with here, so let's take a look at the driver's standings so far in this season. And up at the top of them, of course, we have Andy T with his victory in that first round, and he is here today for those curious. Marco Kayla sits behind in second with Michael DeTurk, Topi Kortaniemi, and Timo Karjalainen rounding out the top 5. Clearly, the Finns, once again, are going to be a major force in this series. And for today's race in particular, DJ, what have we got in store?
Well, we are going to be running in the second of 12 rounds here in the Classic Team Lotus Series. 36 laps around this Atlanta circuit. Now, the big thing here, open setup, and that means I think that you're going to see some differing options. Maximizing downforce, trying to get the best out of the car in sectors 2 and 3, or trying to run a very, very low drag setup and just blasting down that long back straightaway. So that's a storyline we'll have to keep track of during the course of the race. No spare cars for these drivers, so if you bin it, you are done. And you get a drive-through penalty at 17 incidents and fully disqualified at 25. But as is the case, we normally don't see these drivers coming anywhere close to that mark.
Indeed, and we are just about heading off to qualifying here in a moment as we're still waiting on someone to set their first lap time, which is a bit surprising considering how quick they do get around this place. And that, granted, they still have plenty of time left. And coming down under the bridge here and across the line, Pauli Partanen looks like he is going to put one on the board. The Finn has a 109.1. Everybody else now looking to try and match that. Juan Costa about 0.4 of a second off. Do not see Andy T out there yet. He's taking his sweet time to take to the track.
Well, Joe, it's only about 76 degrees Fahrenheit out on track, so I wonder if there's a couple of drivers maybe just thinking, you know what, I'm going to wait here a minute and see if this track will warm up maybe a degree or two, and so I don't have to work the tires as much. Remember, these Lotus 79 tires are very, very hard compounds. They're designed to last an entire race long, so it takes a lot of work to get some good heat into them, so that may be the thought process behind that coming out.
Could be. Looks like Fat Timu got close to Partanen, but Seppa got closer, and now Marco Kayla takes the pole away by less than 1/10 of a second. We're waiting for still a few more to put their first time on the board, though about 4 of them are not on track. And it looks like Andy T just hopped into his car. So when he starts his first flyer, we'll head over there. Partanen on his second time around goes quicker, but is still 4 100ths off of Kayla. He's not going to be on pole. We could still see Seppa or Toika put one in there.
And very, very close there. I mean, look at that. Only 0.2 of a second separating the top three. And that battle for P3, incredibly tight as well. Less than 0.1 of a second separating them. So very, very close across the board. You see a lot of good parity here with the drivers as we watch Severi Seppa coming through that final corner. See that rear end getting a little bit slidey there. That could be a result of the tires. That could be a result of running some lower downforce. But he comes to the line. Let's see. Oh! Loses it coming out of the final corner.
Oh, that was a bit of a strange wreck, if I'm honest. Fat Timu, by the way, bumped himself back up to third with his most recent lap. And I think we're still waiting on T to set his first time. Yeah, he's weaving down the backstretch. So he is indeed trying to get his tires up to temperature. So here goes the Brit. Let's hop on board, DJ. Let's see what it's like around this track with one of the fastest drivers in this Lotus.
It's going to be hard for me to keep up on this, but there you see him riding on board, just lining up for this first corner. You want to throw the car to the left there a little bit before throwing it into the corner as hard as you can go and bringing it back over the hill. Such a tricky corner here. Blind apex into 2, nail the curb coming through 3, and now it's down into the plunging S's. Flat out in these cars, but you've got to hit your marks perfectly and let the car coast here a little bit. Let the natural downforce of the car take off speed while you brake a little bit. Now you've got your first moment to breathe. Lining yourself up for turn 6. Here he goes, hard onto the brakes, but not as hard as you think. That's a banked corner. You can carry a lot of speed. Now harder down. Probably into second gear there for Andy. A little bit of oversteer. He had to correct the car a little bit. That'll cost him about a 0.5 of time at the start, and it may cost him a little bit of speed down this back straightaway. Now this is the area you're going to see during the race. A lot of drafting, a lot of tucking up behind the other car. Now you plunge down the hill, ready for this tricky chicane. Hard onto the binders. Take a good chunk of the first curb. Try to avoid the second as much as possible. Keep the car into the middle of the track. You don't want to clip that apex, otherwise you'll spin the rear tires. Bring it down and around, and that is how Andy T puts a lap down. And how did he do, Joe?
He is the only driver to break into the 108s. He is already a 10th up on Marco Kayla. I do not see many who are likely to go faster than him, as Daniel Gallus is the only other one able to set a time right now. In fact, he's abandoning his lap, so it's looking like Andy T will be our pole sitter. We're still missing Michael de Turk, Patrick Zovazzi, and David Fuentes. But again, they do not have enough time to get out on track and set a time from here. So this is basically a victory lap for Andy T. It's still tight between himself and Marco Kayla. And Marco was the one trying to challenge him, at least for parts of Suzuka. So we'll see if this shorter lap will help him to keep close to the British driver. Let's see if he can go any quicker this time through.
Let's see, indeed. You see there, compared to those laps we were watching earlier, just how planted that rear end looks coming through there. That tells me Andy may be running a little bit higher downforce setup. Let's see when he comes to the line here if he's got anything. A little bit of a happy wiggle there out of that car. Able to go even faster with a 1:08.75.
Wow. Timo Karjalainen, I was wrong. He was another one able to complete a lap, and it looks like he jumped up to 7th on his second time through. Nicely done by him. But our grid is now set. So let's go through it, and it is Andy T who is on the pole today. Once again, Marco Kayla is starting next to him with Pauli Partanen starting from 3rd. It is Timu Toika who is P4, Timu Vaskalampi, who just came off of a great race over in the Lotus 49s, starts from 5th, and Timothy Reed in P6. Karjalainen 7th, as I mentioned. Severi Seppa, a little far down for him. He'll be P8 today. Row 5 has Sanchez starting on the inside and Konechny on the outside.
Starting off in P11, it is going to be Juan Costa, followed by Yanni Raunen with Benoit Daisy and Karthik Pai behind them in row 7. In 15th, it'll be Javier Mosquera, followed by Pablo Suarez with Barry West in 17th and Jean-Francois Boscus in 18th. Paul Williams will be 19th, and rounding out your top 20, not setting a time here, is Michael de Turk.
Just commented on the chat that he accidentally has failed to set the time. So this is definitely not intentional for him. And Daniel Gallus will start from 21st, Zovazzi 22nd, David Fuentes 23rd. Now, what's interesting about Andy T as well is he had a poor qualifying in Suzuka, and he said as much, and he had to fight his way up to the front, which made it exciting for us. Hopefully we'll get some excitement today, as it did look pretty close on the first lap between himself and Marco, but if he starts to get some distance, well, it may be an easy romp for that number one machine to come away with back-to-back wins to start off the season. We're still waiting on a few more to find their way out to the grid. And from poor Michael de Turk, who managed a third place, a podium last round, it's going to be difficult to repeat that one, starting from way back in some of the last rows of the field. I expect Partanen, who unfortunately wrecked out in that first round, to have a better time trying to get himself some good points on the board. This is, of course, before they get any of their drop weeks taken into account, and we'll keep you abreast of that as the season goes on. Just waiting on our pole sitter now to find his way out there, and there is Andy T. That's everybody. So with that, round two and the Lotus 79 Sunday Grand Prix Series, here's the engines start to rev as the lights come up and the green flag is out. It's a good start for T. Marco Kayla looks like he bogged down just a little bit, but not too poorly, as Partanen's going to try and look to the inside. Oh, but he gets chopped off on his way into the corner. Aggressive, very early at the front of the field, looking back through the rest of them, not seeing any offs as they head through three.
Yeah, that was a very, very aggressive move from Marco Kalo. Looked like he just did not want Paulie Partanen anywhere near the apex of that corner. And but now Partanen, I think, is going to have his blood up a little bit. He's going to be back up and fighting. Let's see how they work as they come out of turn 5. Everybody looking relatively okay.
And we saw at Suzuka as well, the second, third, and fourth drivers battling honestly allowed Andy T to run away quite easily. So the last thing they want is to squabble amongst themselves and allow Andy to get the gap early as they come down the backstretch towards the braking of the chicane. And it's about half a second. Marco's not gaining a whole lot for now. And let's see if anybody is going to make a lunge into the braking zone. It's very close for fourth place behind them with a whole train of cars. And you can see a little bit of swap of position between Costa and Sanchez.
Yeah, Joe, and I think the crucial number here to watch for is going to be about 4/10 of a second, as that was Karjalainen getting very close into the grass. Ooh, looking to the inside here, diving it down. That number 5 of Sanchez, able to hold off a charging Timothy Reed, but look for about 3 to 4/10 of a second coming off of turn 7. That is going to be the crucial number. If you're within that, I think you've got a chance at a pass.
Knesny back there was thinking about getting involved, but had to back out of it by the time they got to turn 3. Up and over 5 now, and towards turn 6. This is where things will start to open up soon. But before that, they have to hit the brakes for turn 7, one of the slowest turns on the course, leading onto the longest straight. And it looks like Timothy Reed does just about have those 0.3 of a second. Is that enough to gain on Sanchez?
Well, he's certainly going to try to. You see him there just following in the tire tracks. It looks like he lost a little bit of time coming out of turn 7. Didn't exactly get the run that he wanted to. There you can see the draft really coming into play, but not nearly close enough. Able to close up a little bit during braking. Obviously, the Constantina effect coming into play. But it doesn't look like Timothy has it quite yet. This may be a little bit of a long game out there for him.
Certainly, and Andy T taking the fastest lap of the race as well. That's another 2 bonus points to whoever winds up with that after the last lap is done. And again, that's valuable bonus points for anybody who is likely to run for the championship. We're still not sure if Andy will, as he tends to just kind of show up whenever the track interests him. As Marco Kayla leads by about 0.4 over Paulie Partanen. They continue to lose touch. It is now a full second behind our leader.
Yeah, and I was looking at lap times on that last lap. Partanen was a little bit faster, but I think that's mainly courtesy of the draft down this back straightaway. Doesn't look like he quite has the legs coming through the first sector there to really get things playing out.
Certainly not. And yeah, I don't think Paulie is going to have a chance down into the chicane once again. They're stretching away from Vascalampi, who's back in P4 as well. He's still pulling along a little bit of a train behind him. And that includes the likes of Karjalainen, Toika, Seppa, and Costa. So let's see what is the Finnish army looking like right now? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 out of our top 7 are Finns.
Yeah, just absolutely staking some domination. Great camera there from Dougie Beard and our director, Zach Johnson, just showing us that crest over the hill like that. You can see the rear end of these Lotuses just getting a little bit loose. We'll start to talk about this more as the race goes along, Joe, but we always say it. These cars get looser, they get snappier as fuel starts to wear off in the car and the fuel load lightens. There's not as much weight pulling down on the cars to really take maximum effect of that ground effect. So that corner is just going to get more and more and more difficult as the course of the race goes along.
That's one thing I always find fascinating about this car and series is how dynamic they are to try and drive because of those differences from beginning to end, how the drivers have to adapt to that as it goes on. Out of the chicane, looks like Teemu's starting to pull away just a little bit. Now it's becoming Karjalainen at the front of that group. We've been watching Teemu Toika behind him in the 12, who's been edging ever closer. And he's been within about 2 to 4 tenths of a second recently. Coming up to turn 3, certainly not a place you often see passes. He's going to have to wait patiently maybe for the backstretch to get that slipstream you were talking about, DJ.
Yeah, that's really going to be it. We obviously saw a couple of little looks here into the first corner on the opening lap, and I think as we get a little bit farther along into the race, we'll start to see that because mainly these cars don't have to brake as much for that first corner. It's almost like cops in a modern Formula One car going through that first corner, obviously change in elevation notwithstanding. But that could be a place to overtake a little bit later in the race. I think as heavy as the cars are right now, there's just a hair of understeer, and so you really don't want to go chucking the car in.
Absolutely, and well, once again, they seem to spread apart a little bit down that backstretch. Nobody able to reel the other one in as much as we expected, but the race is very much settling in here as we start on lap 6. And everybody kind of getting their own little space, which is probably good for now because it is such a short lap. We will see the traffic, no doubt, later on. But for the time being, everybody's so closely paced. The farthest car back in 23rd is 21 seconds behind. That's less than an average of a second between each car.
Yeah, everybody very, very close comparatively around here. It just goes to show the skill and the breadth of the series, really and truly.
Sanchez with a problem. It's a first one we've seen all day. Another testament to the skill of these drivers as this track usually catches many out, especially on the first lap. But Sanchez falls to 19th after turn 5. Unfortunately, proves to be yet one of the trickiest.
Yeah, it really does, Joe. And when you look at it on a map, it doesn't look like it should be. But the truth of the matter is because you kind of bottom the car out at the end of the S's and then rise up the hill, it's a flat corner, so no camber really working to your advantage. And the way you really have to take it is you need to just lift off the throttle and let the car coast for a minute as we've got a battle really starting to rage. A couple of them here in the back of the field.
Yeah, it looks like that's Suarez and De Turk. Remember, De Turk failed to qualify and is trying to make up for it as he gets squeezed all the way to the inside, but he finds just enough of an opening, absolutely chucks it in, has to catch the car as he's very slow off the corner. Suarez tries to fight back, nothing doing. Michael is through into 14th.
That was a very gutsy move there from Michael, but able to make it work, and that's exactly the kind of aggression he needs to have if he wants to move his way up forward. I definitely think a top 10 is in store for that number 9 machine here today.
And we just went to the cameras right as there was a pass between Pai and, Suarez there into chicane. So that was also a position for the number 10 to get himself up there. But here we go. Back to Teemu Toika. Seppa closing in on him, but not close enough down into the chicane. His fellow Finn remains ahead.
Yeah, fellow Finn remaining ahead there for now, but this could be a little bit of that mental game here from Teemu Toika, just seeing if he can force any mistakes out of Karjalainen, and especially at a track like this where it is so difficult to keep anything happening.
Exactly. Ooh, a little bit of the curve to the inside there for Seppa, but doesn't slip out. I think we got a chance to check out what happened to Sanchez with his off. Thankfully did not hit anything as far as I can tell. Did he just lose it? Oh, yeah, outside curb.
Yeah, and what happened there with that, Joe, is that outside curb, he took a little bit too much of it. And I think that suction, the two Venturi tunnels underneath the car, that ground effect that we always talk about, that sucking motion that pulls the car down into the grass, that got disrupted. The side skirt's not able to make complete contact, and so there was a lack of a vacuum underneath the car, and that's what spun him around.
Did a good job keeping out of people's way as well, and didn't return immediately. Tried to back it up and find himself some space to get rolling. But poor Sanchez still down in 17th as we come up towards Partanen and Vascalampi. Now, this is the battle for the final step on the podium. Vascalampi, who was being chased by a whole group of cars, has left them behind and is now the chaser instead.
Yeah, indeed he is. So a little bit of a dynamic race here in terms of positioning. I think part of that has to do with just sort of the rhythm of everything and the rhythm of the way the track goes around. You really need to feel it out. If you lose a corner or two there, coming down through the S's, even coming into 6 and 7, it's very easy to make a mistake and continue to make a mistake. And so I think sometimes if you try to make a pass, that's what will end up happening.
So let's see if he's going to set it up later. Certainly not close enough here. So they once again plunge down the hill into the braking for the chicane. You can really see it coming as you come over that crest and line yourself up. And then they complete yet another lap. Still have a ways to go in today's race. And while things have sort of settled into a stalemate for many of our drivers up at the top, we've seen lots of battling in the mid-pack thus far. And up and over the crest, looks like, ooh, Vascalampi very quick through this part now.
Yeah, very, very quick indeed. Starting to try to get a little bit of a run there on Paulie Parton. And now, as we've said, going down into turn 6 here, you really can't get a pass done. It's such a quick corner. Depending on how the gear ratios are set in these Lotus 79s, it'll either be a 3rd or a 4th gear corner, a little bit almost a brush braking rather than a full heavy braking zone, and then bringing the car down into 1st or 2nd for that ever crucial turn 7. But looks like there that Paulie able to streak away a little bit. Oh, this is the battle for the lead, Joe. Marco Kayla not letting Andy T get away quietly.
For the impartial viewer, that is what they want to see, a battle for the lead. Yeah, Kayla's got it down under 0.4 of a second. I wonder if Marco's got it set up better for the end of the race, or farther into the race, I should say. And there you can see the lap comparisons. It has wavered back and forth a little bit in these last 5 laps, but this most recent one, 0.3 quicker. Wonder if there was a mistake from T.
You know, I've been keeping track of that, Joe, and it seems like that will happen about every 3 or 4 laps here for Andy, is that he'll just sort of mysteriously lose a couple of tenths. So I'm not sure if he's making mistakes or if Marco's just really able to nail a corner exit or something. I've been kind of keeping an eye on this battle out of the corner of my eye, but it's really pretty fascinating.
It's keeping us on our toes as we come down the back stretch. And it's the number 1 versus the number 2 rated car out here in the top split today in the Lotus 79s. Each of them over 6,000 I rating in these things. And he edges ever closer here through the chicane, so it's looking good through for Marco through that portion, which is a good sign for him, because as you mentioned, that's really one of the few good places to try and overtake here.
Yeah, it is indeed. And you notice there, as Marco sets the fastest lap of the race, you notice there when we were running on the rear wing of Andy T, just what Marco was doing. He took a little bit of a wider apex going into that final corner, just trying to get as much air on the front wing as possible. I think Marco here is really sizing up his competitor, seeing where he is strong, seeing where he is weak. Let's keep an eye here on this gap as they go down the back straightaway. Let's see if we can maybe discern. I'm betting that Andy may be running a little bit of a lower downforce setting based off of where Marco's able to catch him.
Now let's look at the speed comparison between these two as they start to pick it up. And definitely looks like Andy's got a little bit of an advantage, but he is a few feet down the road as they start to hit the end of it. 177 for Andy T, but Marco Kayla, well, also about 177. So I'm not seeing any distinct advantage, but he's much better off the exit.
Yeah, he is big time, just able to get that power down on the car coming through turn 10B. I don't know if he's going to try for a late lap lunge. Here he goes. He's going to stick it down to the inside of one.
Almost manages to get through, but it looks like Andy T is able to rebuff him, hold it around the outside, but now it's on. That's the first real attempt we've seen from Marco Kayla.
And Marco looking very, very hungry here. As we said, that's a hard place to make a maneuver, and he just tried to maybe force Andy T off the line. But Andy T, the wily old veteran, not falling victim to it. Let's see if he's got anything on the backstretch.
All right, here we go. Well, Marco had to have had some of that slipstream last time, and he spins up the wheels a little bit this time, so probably not going to see him get all that close down the backstretch. But I wonder, because we saw him not really get a huge advantage pace-wise, I wonder if Andy's more trimmed out than Marco today.
Yeah, that's exactly what I'm thinking, Joe. If you look how much Marco Kayla, they're able to close under braking. Watch him come off of the corner there, coming out of turn 10B and down through this sweeper. He's able to keep pace and gain time. If he was running a more trimmed out setup here, he would be having to lift a little bit, work the car more, and as a result, you can just see Kayla looks very much in control of that car. Andy T, he's having to work it just a little bit more, sawing at the steering wheel, trying to push this way and that. Marco Kayla just kind of letting the car drive itself.
Now, this surprises me a little bit because Andy mentioned last week that he tends to crank a little bit more wing into it. And, well, it seems like Marco has gone the reverse route, or Andy has, one or the other. And it's paying off so far for Andy T because he's able to stay ahead in probably the most important area on the track. This time, Marco about 0.5 of a second behind as we approach the halfway mark soon.
Indeed, and you know, in terms of that, Road Atlanta is really one of those places where you can kind of just roll the dice and go with whatever you want to do. We've seen drivers really be able to make low downforce setups work. We've seen drivers make high downforce setup works. The problem, it seems to be, is when you try to run a compromise setup, when you try to run somewhere in the middle, that tends to be where you get thrown out a little bit because you're just not quite close enough to keep up during the twisty bits, and you're not exactly fast enough in a straight line to really get anything going. And I think both of these drivers running on a little bit opposite ends of the spectrum, and that's what's presenting such a great battle.
Another good pass from Michael DeTurk into the chicane recently. He bumped himself up into 12th past Daisy. And that has allowed him to see some daylight finally because he's got a gap up to Yanni Ryanen. About 2.5 seconds there. He's still being chased by Karthik Pai, who he must have overtaken last time before we checked in on him. Let's see on the backstretch if any of these guys get a good enough slipstream themselves to maybe make an attack.
I'd keep an eye here on potentially Karthik Pai on Benoit Daisy. Let's keep our eyes focused here. It definitely looks like he's closing a little bit. I love that paint scheme, by the way, from Karthik here. Really, really good stuff.
A classic one as they come down into the braking. I think we had another battle erupting. Vaskalampi and Teemu Toika just swapped spots, and that was a savvy move from Toika. It looks like there was an attack from from Vaskalampi on Karjalainen, and Teemu just basically picked up the pieces. He out accelerated his rival, and now he's through.
Yeah, he really did, and sometimes that's just what you got to do is be able to play that. But this battle is really coming together here. Just 1, 2, 3, 4. Toika, Vascalampi, Seppa, and Costa. Wanmi just sort of breaking up a Finnish party here in the back of the field. But he got a pretty good run off the final corner. I think we're going to see some side-by-side down the backstretch.
Yeah, I think he's going to wreck the party here in a second if he gets a good enough slipstream. But first up, Teemu Vascalampi on Teemu Toika. Side-by-side down to the chicane. Toika holding the inside, playing defensive, but he's going to have to break late, and he's going to have to get off the corner well. They managed to stay out of each other. Don't tangle tires, but some wheel spin from Fat Teemu is going to compromise him. Here comes Vascalampi. He's back up into 5th. No change behind them.
Talk about heads up for the drivers as here comes Toika looking around the outside of turn 1. Is he going to make anything happen? Almost tangling wheels again. They go off to opposite sides of the track, and that is going to be Toika back up into that position.
Midfield is feisty today. I love this. And Teemu back into 5th after temporarily losing the position. Now over turn 5 they crest. Nobody getting a good launch off of this portion. Wonder if they're going to focus on turn 7, really backing this one up to try and get the speed down the backstretch. Everybody single file into here and then mashing the throttle down. Doesn't look like Vascalampi got it well enough.
No, but keep your eye here on Severi Seppa. That may be the car that has a little bit of a run. I don't think anybody's going to be able to mess with anybody up front. No, I lied. They're all going to stay nice and orderly going down into turn 10.
Oh, but a bad exit once again from Teemu. He does not like the run out of the chicane. And that allows Vascalampi past once again, almost into the grass for Seppa that time. And 2 drivers may be thinking about it at once. No, only one. Vascalampi once again defensive, but this time he's able to keep Teemu Toika behind.
Yeah, and that's exactly what he needed to do. Toika trying to do the same move that he did on the previous lap and it not paying off. But now, look, Severi Seppa getting very interested in this battle. He may have a move on Toika, and Wanmi Costa also looking hungrily behind.
Don't need to go to it, but Benoit Daisy had an off at turn 7, just went off by his own. And into turn 6. Oh, that's a rough one to try and make a pass stick. Seppa can't do it.
It's a little ill-advised there from Severi Seppa. He lost some time courtesy of that. He had to get out of the throttle a little bit, but he got a heck of a run going down into turn 7. He may make me eat my words here in a second.
Had more problems with Daisy. I wonder if he has a hardware issue because he's been going very slow. And now he's actually completely stopped in the S's, and he's going to take a tow, unfortunately. So that might be end of the day for Benoit, which is a bit sad because he was having a pretty exciting one from what we could see up to that point. Meanwhile, this is looking like good news for Vascalampi. Look at the distance he's starting to put between himself and that dark blue number 12.
Yeah, I think he was getting held up a little bit by Teemu Toika there, but Severi Seppa still trying to do it. Loses some time coming over turn 3 as they make their way down through the S's. Cars fanning out a little bit. I do not want to be Severi Seppa in this position as he's got to be playing chameleon here, keeping one eye ahead of him on Teemu Toika and one on behind on the always quick Wanmi Costa.
Well, and I have to admit, I'm a little bit surprised that Wanmi is still back there. I kind of wonder if he's just playing tag along, that he doesn't have the speed compared to these guys, and he's just using the slipstream. Because they've been fighting so much, he should have had an easy opportunity before now to try and make a pass.
Yeah, he really should, and I haven't been keeping that close of an eye on him, but I wonder if this is another setup difference. If he's ready running a little bit more downforce, and that's really costing him a chance to get a move done on the straightaway. Andy T setting the fastest lap of the race, by the way. He has been able to pull that gap back out a little bit more. It's up again to about 1.3 seconds, so responding well to the attack from Marco Kalas. We've got maybe a move!
Teemu's going to have to defend. Seppa thinks about it. He falls off. Now Costa has the speed, but can't do anything with it once again. And backs out. In fact, he goes very wide through turn 3, and that cost him yet more time.
Cost him yet more time. This battle just keeping the ebb and flow and ebb and flow. And don't look now, but that's Timothy Reed in that red machine. You can just kind of see it in the background. He's closing in. If they keep battling like this, Reed could become a major player into this fight.
And that will not be fun for them because they had narrowed it down to 3. And making it back up to 4 again is just going to complicate it for all involved. Seppa's been following in the slipstream here down the backstretch, and he's thought about it. He's poked his nose out a few times, just hasn't been able to complete the pass here. Definitely not close enough this time down into the braking of the chicane.
No, not quite doing it. Andy T setting another fastest lap of the race. He's really trying to push here as hard as he can.
Indeed, and they've caught up a little bit to Timo Karjalainen, who had an immense swapper coming off of turn 5. The 14 car had to really catch it. Didn't hit anything, but it sure must have been scary, and it's down to 3 seconds now. There you see him. He's going to get through turn 5 successfully that time. Not only that, he's lost the back of Partanen because of that mistake.
Well, and that's going to make life very difficult for him. If he loses that draft, he's got to fight all the more to get it back. The one good thing for him is that Paulie's about 4 seconds back of Marco Kayla in second. There's not going to be a whole lot of draft coming his way from that position.
Oh, and now the weaving starts. This has become more and more of a trend here in this series. And Teemu Toika with Severi Seppa just behind him. Not able to use enough of that slipstream to attack quite yet. This has been the trouble zone. The Achilles heel for Teemu Toika is exiting the chicane. And now it hurts him on his way down into turn 1. Seppa's going to try the pass. No, he's not. He backs out.
Yeah, Severi just looked like that was about a half commit there. I think he thought he had an opportunity that decided to back off. Loses some ground there coming up over turns 2 and 3, despite the fact that there was a big wiggle from Teemu Toika there up in front. Oh, we've got a car around.
Pablo Suarez, and must have been a narrow escape for Williams because he gave a breath of relief over the radio.
And that's another one. That's Yanni Ryan, and it looks like he just lost it coming through turn 1. I can't tell if there's damage on the front of that car or not, but I have to imagine, oh yeah, there is. That left front wing in a bad state.
Oh, he must have hit something or someone. We need an onboard with Paul Williams. He did a great job getting caught up in that incident with Sanchez, or Suarez rather. And you can see just how much that car is limping with that front wing damage in the meantime. So here is Williams. Or no, that's Suarez, excuse me. And there's Williams.
Wow.
Kind of wound up smack dab in the middle of the racing line there after that little almost 360. Whoa! Wow. That'll relieve you of your lunch very quickly as he continues on now. Oh, and there's the contact. That is Ryan, and looks like he got a little help from, not sure who this is. Actually, is that Williams? Or no, that was Suarez, I think, making a little bit of contact.
Yeah, he got a little bit of contact. It looked like the car had started to break away from him and just kind of had nowhere to go. So very unfortunate situation there for both drivers.
And that makes Yanni our second DNF of the day, it appears, as he pulls slowly down the pit lane. Daisy, the only other one so far. Still have 21 cars out on the track. Of these 4 have been some of the most exciting. Teemu Vaskilampi ahead of Teemu Toika, Severi Seppa, and Juan Mi Costa. So they've run Vaskilampi back down. Remember, he was starting to pull away a little bit, but they picked up the pace and they have reeled him in.
Well, Joe, and remember what I talked about this being really a rhythm track, specifically the first sector around here. And if you lose that rhythm, if you lose that focus, that kind of just way of getting into the moves there.
Sorry, we lost Costa. We lost Costa over the crest of turn 3. He didn't hit anything. He just parked it. He spun and then decided he had enough. That's very strange.
Very strange indeed. I wonder if that may be a hardware issue or something like that. That would be the only real explanation I have for something like that happening.
So that's 3 DNFs now. They're starting to drop off quicker and quicker. I said this can be a punishing track, and Some drivers are discovering that. It's down to 3 once again. Reed has not been able to close as he was just a moment ago. Andy T with another fastest lap of the race. These cars tend to get quicker as the race goes on. Teemu with a great run down the front stretch, but not enough straightaway.
I think that was Teemu Toika just being a little bit cautious there. It looked like he had enough overspeed. He may just be waiting for a little bit later in the race. As we said, cars get faster, cars get lighter, cars get looser as this race goes along. We're getting about to the point that I think you can start to chuck that car up the inside of turn 1, maybe try to force the driver in front of you off the preferred racing line. And that may need to be what Teemu Toika does here to get Vascalampi and get that 5th place position.
Oh, they were mighty close now. As we watch this one down the backstretch, I'm keeping half an eye on Turk and Sanchez because they are close too, but they're not where most of the passes take place. This is where we expect it to go down, and Vascalampi feels under threat enough that he goes defensive down into the braking of the chicane. Teemu Toika wants it once again, but this is where he has trouble coming off the chicane. This time he nails it.
Little bit of a wiggle there for him coming off of turn 10B, but able to get the apex down, get himself forward, and get ahead. Good move there for Teemu Toika.
No change in position down in 11th and 12th. That's Sanchez and the Turk, who have been close to one another, but this is where the action is right now. So now that Toika has gotten by Vascalampi, can he pull away? Something that the other Teemu has been unsuccessful in so far, and nobody's really making huge distance on the first half of the lap. Let's see about the second half.
Well, and let's also keep our eyes here on Severi Seppa. If these two continue to battle, I have to imagine that Seppa will be able to pull in and close up very close behind.
You would think so, and I'm sure he's hungry by now. He's kind of been sitting back there like Costa, not making a whole lot of moves. And he's not gaining this time down the backstretch himself. So they're going to stay put in line as they get on the binders down into that left-right. And I was watching Sanchez and Turk, but now it's becoming Sanchez and Pi. Xavier has run down the yellow camel car.
Has indeed got a good run on him going down the backstretch. Not quite close enough to be able to get the move done, but at least enough to pressure Karthik Pai here. Pai falling down the order just a little bit. It seems like that car may not be as well handling, as well suited for Karthik as this fuel load burns off.
And no surprise here, among these three, the biggest charger is still Michael the Turk with his failure to qualify well, but he's losing touch with Xavier. They come over the crest, the red and white number 5 still hounding the number 10 around every corner.
Yeah, really just filling up that rear view mirror. And I can tell you from experience, with these Lotus 79s, if you take just a fraction of a second to look in that virtual mirror, whoa, we've got a pass.
Or an attempt at one. Seppa, we were saying, he looks like he's sizing him up, trying to see if he could get something to work, and it's not going to work this time. But we're down to 9 laps to go at this stage, and laps are starting to run out. He is going to have to make something stick soon.
Yeah, he is, and the one thing he's going to have working against him is Vascalampi will know that that's where he wants to make the attack. So if I'm Severi Seppa here in this position, I'm going to sort of feint an attack going down into turn 10. Deliberately go to the outside to try to maximize my speed coming out of that corner and then set myself up for a move into turn 1. That's the strategy I would take here if I'm Severi Seppa.
Let's see if he listens to you. Right now, he's still within 0.3 of a second coming through turn 6, up into the crest of 7. Everybody really focusing on gunning it off of that corner. And I think Vascalampi really nailed that one because he starts to pull away in the initial stage of the acceleration. Along they go, already up to 170 miles an hour, and Seppa is nowhere near close enough.
Yeah, Teemu absolutely nailed that corner exit, kicking up a lot of dirt there on the entrance to turn 10A just for good measure. But Yeah, that's exactly what Vascalampi needs to do in order to keep his chances alive of holding on to that 6th place position. He has just got to focus on turn 7, and nothing but turn 7.
I mentioned Pi earlier under threat, and this is exactly what I was talking about. Sanchez has really run him down now, and he took a look along the back stretch, was not able to execute on it. We ride on the gearbox now of the number 10 machine. He's not going to set him up into turn 1. Doesn't even look like there's anything to do into turn 3 as well, but they have to stay single file from here at least to the exit of turn 5.
Yeah, you really can't get sideways, and no matter what car you are in there, Joe. Not the best exit out of there for Sanchez into turn 5. He's able to keep it relatively close. All right, here he comes into turn 6. Nice run there. Now, Pi's just got to try to back up this corner, park the car at the apex a little bit. I don't think he backed it up enough. This could be all the opportunity that Sanchez needs.
It's one of the best ones we've seen from him. As Xavier sizes him up, the Club Iberia driver now pokes his head off to the right-hand side. Karthik Pai cannot do much here except brake his late as he dares, which he tries and keeps an overlap into the left-hander, around the right-hander. He's got the outside. That tends to see better momentum, and it does this time. But now he's on the long way around from multiple corners and just gets fed out to the outside of the track. It is not there for Karthik Pai, and he finally gives up the ghost.
But way to put up a very healthy and robust defense there for Karthik Pai. That is exactly how you need to try to hold those corners. It just looked, the momentum there favored Sanchez, and there was nothing he could do about it.
Down to 7 laps to go. Pretty soon going to be 6 because Andy T is actually coming across the line now. So how close is he? Oh, he's getting close to lap traffic, and a lot of lap traffic, I should say. This could be the thing to disrupt Andy T that Marco Kayla needs. He's behind by 3 seconds, so he's definitely been dropping pretty consistently since we last checked in, although he just set the fastest lap of the race himself. But as you see Andy up and over turn 5, he's got maybe only about another 6 or 7 seconds to get up to Fuentes, the first in line.
Yeah, indeed, and he's got about a 3.7, let's call it, second gap between himself and Marco Kayla, but if he catches that traffic at the wrong place of the track, looking at the S's, looking at turn 5, really anywhere in that first sector, you can see those seconds start to evaporate, so we've got to keep your eyes focused there as much as possible.
Absolutely. And this means that on average, he's been about 2 seconds a lap faster than those drivers back there. So yeah, they will cost him time if he gets caught up behind them at the wrong moment. He just set another fastest lap, Andy T did, and now he has officially caught oh, no, he is not. Excuse me, I was looking at the wrong car. He's still getting ever closer to Fuentes, who's in a battle of his own. Boscus is with him. West is there in that group. Zilvazi. And I think Seppa and Toika just swapped spots.
Yeah, they did. Seppa just getting the move done into turn 1, it looked like.
Takes some bravery to make that stick through there, but they got it done. Andy T's already getting on the radio to try and communicate with those in front of them. You can see them battling, pairing up actually. Instead of 4, it's pairs of 2, which might actually work better for him as he'll be able to pick them off more one by one. They come down and under the bridge. 4 laps to go here.
Indeed, and this is where it's going to get hairy. And just a quick note, as there you see some of the drivers just getting out of the way for your leader. Just a quick note on Timu Toika. It wasn't actually a pass under to turn 1. There was a little bit of a kerfluffle, some drivers getting off in front of him that he got caught up in coming off of the front corner, and that sent him wide. That is how Severi Seppa was actually able to get by.
It's that clever use of your surroundings, no doubt. And up into turn 6 here. A little bit of passing for position between guys like Weston, Zilvazi, and T once again. Blipping the radio, making sure that they're aware that he's there. That's one of those little tricks you sometimes see here on iRacing, not saying anything. And he's getting instructions now from the back markers. So they're trying to play ball, trying to make things a little less painful for Andy T. It has shrunk down to under 4 seconds. That's the first of them, and it's going to be 3 to go.
Exactly, 3 to go at the line. Just those 2 more, and Andy doing everything he can do to keep this nice and easy and together. That gap maintaining at about 3.6, 3.7 seconds.
Ooh, he's going to have a tough time through here. He's now plugged up behind Barry West. It looks like he is having a battle with Zilvazi for 16th place. Still valuable points in the championship here, and they're allowed to fight and race their own race. So Andy T, who watches with the gearbox looming close in front of him, has lost the gap down to 2.5 seconds now. This is definitely hurting him, but I get the sense this is too little too late.
Yeah, especially considering that Marco Kayla is going to have to work his way by this traffic himself as well. And Andy doing a good job here to pick up some draft, but he may get a little bit boxed in. He's got to split the difference in between the two.
Yeah, those two were fighting for position. He didn't want to get involved in it, but he's going to be able to get both of them as they also fight for position. Barry West had a go at it. It didn't pan out. 2 laps to go, and now he's in the clear.
Yeah, this should be smooth sailing, or I should say as smooth of sailing as you can get around Road Atlanta here for Andy T, as Marco Kayla setting the fastest lap of the race, pipping those points away from Andy T. It'll be interesting to see here if T decides to push a little bit, try to reclaim those points, or if he is just in coast mode.
Oh, is that Kayla?
That's Kayla!
Oh, Partonen is on him quickly, and the damage on that car, I can't imagine he's very fast. In fact, you can see Partonen is now getting checked up. He's got to get by quick, or else Karjalainen might be able to vie for one of the podium spots.
Will indeed. He's going to have to get his speed up and hope that he doesn't have too much damage to the car. It just looks like right now, a little bit of a wiggle there coming off the corner. It may be just some front end damage. If it's not rear wing damage, he should be able to keep his straight line speed up.
I'm kind of amazed, honestly. I'm checking to see if he did hit anything on my replay, and it looks like he did not. So that damage might just be from going over the curbs. Ooh, something happened to Karthik Pai as well. That looks like turn 5, and I'm pretty certain he did hit the wall.
Yeah, some definite rear wing damage to that machine, so that is going to hurt him down the front, down the long backstretch.
But Andy T is on the white flag lap. The number 1 car now has a very handy gap of about 8 seconds. He had to work a little bit harder for this one. Was not able to stretch away nearly as well as he did over in Suzuka. And Marco Kayla's own mistake really gave him a much bigger buffer than what he had all race long. Down the backstretch, it is 2 times in a row showing up here in 2022 Season 1 for Andy T, and 2 times in a row he has romped away with the victory. Will he stick around for the championship is the question many are asking. Andy T with the win here at Road Atlanta.
A commanding drive there, good under pressure. We saw him get challenged a couple of times, and kudos here to Marco Kayla holding on to that car near the end. Andy T, well, he was pushing. He just set the fastest lap of the race on that final lap.
And Partonen just shy. If he maybe could have gotten past as Marco was trying to get back up to speed, that could have given him a 2nd place today. Karthik Pai with his damage, unfortunately, probably doesn't have much of an answer for Sanchez. By the way, Deturk in front of them, unless he makes a mistake in these last few corners, will get a top 10. So certainly not the podium from last time, but a respectable result.
Exactly. He'll be happy with that, I think, coming around here. So not too bad for him as he crosses over that start-finish line.
And looks like Pi not able to attack. Suarez and Mosquera will finish in position with Mosquera 13th and Suarez 14th. The last two on the lead lap. We're going to take a quick break and we'll come back with the official results as well as driver interviews, so stick around.
This is iRacing, the world's premier online racing game. iRacing puts you in the driver's seat to experience today's newest form of competitive motorsport, virtual racing, all from your home PC. Race virtually in endorsed series from NASCAR, IndyCar, IMSA, the World of Outlaws, Aussie Supercars and more. Take on legendary circuits like Daytona, Silverstone and the Nürburgring. Join iRacing's global online racing community and get on track today at iRacing.com.
Welcome back to Road Atlanta Round 2, and the Lotus 79 Sunday Grand Prix Series has Andy T as your winner for the second time this season. Marco Kayla followed him home and almost lost that P2 after he wrecked with 2 laps to go. Spun, really, managed to keep it off the wall, and then Pauli Partanen chased him all the way to the line from there. Timo Karjalainen was kind of on his own at the end. He finished 4th with Severi Seppa in P5. It was very close from there down between multiple other cars for much of the race. Timo Vaskalampi in 6th, Timo Toika in 7th, and Timothy Reed trying to catch up to them in P8. Peter Konechny wound up 9th, and as I mentioned before we went to break, Michael de Turk went from 20th without managing to get a qualifying time in up to 10th in the end.
Coming home in 11th was Javier Sanchez, and Karthik Pai falling back down to 12th after a good race for him. Javier Mosquera was in 13th, followed by Pablo Suarez, the last driver to finish on the lead lap. Patrick Silvassi was 15th, followed by Barry West, Jean-Francois Boscas, David Fuentes, Daniel Gallus, and Paul Williams rounding out your top 20, 2 laps down.
And it looks like T is ready to talk to us again as we see the last of our finishers there, of our 23 starters. Those were our DNFs on that last screen. So 2 races arrived at and 2 races won for Andy T. Andy, congratulations. Back-to-back wins. This time, though, it looks like you got your qualifying right.
Yeah, about ruddy time. Yeah, it was nice to plonk it on pole. Yeah, that was a good feeling. I gave myself a little fist pump. Yeah, that's good, man.
Here's the thing, though. Both of your laps, I think, were good enough for pole position from what we saw. Did you realize that after the first lap?
Yeah, I knew I had pole, and then I just sent it on the second one.
Amazing stuff. Wow. Well, this time, though, you did have a bit of a fight on your hands. Marco started to catch up mid-race. Was that just his setup may be better in that stage of the event, or what was going on that he was able to try and catch up to and attack for a bit?
The dude is an insane driver, is what happened. I mean, he's come basically from the beach with no practice, like 20 minutes, and he's able to match me. It's insane. He's so fast. These raccoon boys, got to get rid of him somehow. But once he lost the draft, I seemed to have a little bit of pace on him. And then I think he made a little mistake, which cost him about a second, and that was it from there.
Well, I hate to be a broken record. I know we always ask this, but you've shown up for the first 2 this time. Are you going to stick around for the championship?
I'm going to try. Obviously, some things might come up and stop me, but yeah, I'll be trying to win this championship for sure. And to be honest with you, it's just nice to have these wins wrapped up in a little red ribbon. I'm like head over heels to keep myself top of the table. It's so good.
I can imagine all the feel goods for Andy T. Anybody you want to thank before you take off?
All right, this is going to be a big one. So traffic, they were great this race. Thanks for being so respectful. Yeah, really good. Family, I know you're watching. Much love. Merry Christmas. Raccoon Racing boys, pushing me hard as always. You guys for the great broadcast. And finally, shout outs to A2 Vanio Kangas, whose good lady is expecting a little boy imminently. So best wishes to them.
Oh, big congrats to them. That was Andy T, our winner here today. With a whole list he had to rifle off, and Marco Kayla finished behind him, about 8 seconds behind. But that was the biggest gap all race, as DJ is talking to him.
I am indeed, Marco. You just got some very high praise from our winner, AT, just talking about how fast you were. But talk me through that race and what it was like catching him down.
Well, on the beginning it was fun, but after like 10 laps or something like that, the car was so handful to drive for me. Just trying to keep on track almost after that. So it spun on the second last lap and have many situations that I could have end the race for me.
Well, I wonder if you would tell us then. I mean, what kind of setup were you running? Were you running a little bit more low downforce then if the car got a little bit harder to control?
No, it's Timo's weekly setup, what he made. So just the usual, what the community makes for people.
Gotcha. Well, obviously, this is a good result for you here and being able to finish that close to Andy. Do you have championship aspirations this year, or is it just kind of a race-by-race approach at this point?
Of course, I want to win it. It's my goal, but Andy's so fast, it's going to hard to beat him. But let's see in the future races.
All right, well, we will see indeed, my friend. Anybody you want to thank for this second place run here today?
Of course, you guys and the whole community and these Saturday races. It's so much fun all the time. So fun to race here.
Well, I know for us, it's always fun to call. That was Marco Kayla, your second place finisher here today. Congratulations, Marco. And now, Joe, I believe you've caught up with Barry West.
Indeed, and Barry finishing 16th today after starting from 17th, so only a single position up. But you had to deal with the leaders coming through at the end, right as you were in the middle of some battles. What was that like, having to have eyes everywhere?
Yeah, it was a bit hectic, really. I mean, I don't think either of us wanted to lift because we were having such an intense battle. And then Andy, I realised Andy had quite a lead, so he didn't mind losing a bit more time. So I thought I'd see if I can use him. So I went wide, and I think Patrick was staying right. So I went wide to let him go down the middle, hoping I could nip behind him and follow him through. But although I had a high downforce setup, I just couldn't keep up with him. So yeah, it was good right to the end. Brilliant battle with Patrick. I pulled a bit on Jean a few times, and then I could battle him, but he just had too much speed on the straight. But he sort of slew me up on the exit onto the back straight. I could get a good slingshot. I was all right, but of course I had to time it just right, and I think I only got level with him once, got past him once, and then he got back past me. So we had a real ding dong down for the S's side by side as well. So yeah, it was a really good battle. I enjoyed that one.
This is quite a technical start to the season between Suzuka here at Road Atlanta, and now we're heading off to Hungary. Do you like these tracks that are very technical, very challenging for the driver in this way?
I've always liked Road Atlanta and Silverstone, Brands Hatches. I'm not very good on whether you got really slow hairpins. That's where I seem to lose out. But I like these fast flowing tracks. Well, they got a bit of rhythm to them. You can get into a rhythm. And here it was just been a matter of trying to survive. And I was hoping there was going to be a bit more carnage in front like there was in the earlier race. But no, there's only my poor teammate. I let him go at the beginning. I didn't want to hold him up because he was behind me. He messed his qualifying up, Paul Williams. And then he blew his engine with 1 lap to go, I think. So that was he was a bit distraught by that. But still, one of those things, I suppose. But he had quite a good race, I think. He was up about 13th. But yeah, I mean, I think I only made 1 place up. But in this field, the excellent driving. I mean, Patrick was really much respect to Patrick. Silvassi, is it? I can't pronounce it. And young Jon behind us, he was keeping us both honest. But yeah, it was a really good race. Enjoyed it.
Yeah, we've been saying it Silvazzi, so he'll have to correct us. We've been botching that this whole time. Is there anybody you want to give a shout out to before we let you go?
No, you guys are coming back and doing such a good good job. Yeah, I look forward to the next one. Cheers, guys.
We look forward as well. And that was Barry West, who took a 16th place today in top split. I know he said that it's a steep competition. He's not kidding out here. I think it was over a 3,000 average strength of field today. But that wraps us up with a big thank you ourselves to the Lotus 79 community for bringing us back for another season of coverage. But we also want to thank the companies that provide the software and the hardware for our broadcasts that are listed here on your screen. Additional thanks go to June Lalonde, who provides our wonderful music. Check out her Bandcamp for more great work. Thanks to the team today, DJ, Zach, and Dougie. You can find more info about GSRC at globalsimracingchannel.com or through our social media listed here on the screen. And check out our merchandise store at simracingmerch.com/GSRC. And there's a nice link in the description below to make it easy. Don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel so you don't miss a moment. And the next race, as we mentioned, will be at Hungary. That'll be in the real 2022 on Sunday, January 2nd, 11:30 a.m. Eastern. We have upcoming races for other series listed on your screen, so check those out. Mark them down on your calendar. Because it is Christmas weekend, we obviously had to take a little bit of a holiday break ourselves. So up next, Camel GT is also here on Sunday. That'll be at Zolder, 2 p.m. Eastern. So very shortly, we're hopping over to that coverage. Until next time, race clean, race hard. We'll see you on the track.